What's going on? My name is Matt. I've been working in power sports for about 5 years now. I bought this vest about 3 years ago, and today I'm going to talk about why I chose this vest at the time, how it's held up to other airbags today, and whether if I had the knowledge now 3 years ago, if I would have made the same choice. First of all, before we get started, I just want to say the biggest objection I hear with this particular vest is the subscription model. The thing is though, In&Motion started by only offering the software outright, and it was about $400. And that was one of the biggest objections to people buying it. So they created the subscription model as a solution to that, and they still offer buying the software outright, which puts it at about the same cost as other vests. So they offered it outright, people didn't buy it. Offers a subscription, people hated on the subscription, but we're trying to create a solution for people to have a lower barrier to entry to be able to have an airbag vest. I don't hate them for that at all, and I think the subscription model actually benefited them significantly. And one of the reasons I say that is because if you look at Klim's site, the In&Motion software is ever evolving, as they call it. So what that means is because of the subscription model, everybody using In&Motion, and it's not just Klim, In&Motion licenses to various companies around the world, like Ixon, Furigan, RST, Held. Every single company they license to, they're getting data back from, because it's built into the software. The software is separate from the vest, essentially. So all those brands, every single brand that uses In&Motion is contributing to the data pool. And because of the subscription model is always connecting to your phone, that submits data back to feed that algorithm and make this one more accurate. There are so many different ways you could fall out on the street. And I think tracks are a little bit more predictable, but on the street, you could get rear-ended. But what are you getting rear-ended by? A Fiat or Ford F-250, because one is going to send you forward, one's going to send you up and back. How do you make an algorithm that accounts for all that? There's rocks, trees as well, there's ditches, there's all sorts of different ways you can crash on the street. Street signs even. There's just so many different things. It's unpredictable. So having an active feedback built into your algorithm through anonymous data submission through our phones means that this gets the most updates. As far as I know, this has more miles of data than all the other brands combined. Last time I checked the statistics, they have 299 million miles of data, which is insane. No other company has that amount of data. As I was editing this video, I realized the community miles actually reached over 300 million miles, which is a huge milestone. That is insane. That is so much data. Now, you can opt out of that data submission if you want. But if you're going to do that because you're worried about your data being stolen, I also suggest not using a GPS and leaving your phone at home, because it's probably already happening anyway. Anyways, with the active feedback loop that they've created with the subscription model, this means that every deployment gets analyzed and recorded. Every missed deployment, they get data on. And that is a huge deal, because at the time, and I don't know if this has changed with other algorithms or not, I don't think it has, but from my understanding, other brands only get data when the vest gets submitted back for inspection or repair. So that means that only a vest that has been crashed in, they can get data off of, or a missed deployment that somebody had, inspected and repaired before they offered vests that now have multiple deployments. By the way, this was the only vest available to me at the time that offered multiple deployments before sending it back too. But yeah, so they only got data when the vests were actually sent back for repair and inspection. So what that means is any wreck where a rider died or got too injured to ride again and had no reason to repair their vest, that data wasn't sent back. Anytime a rider walked into a restaurant or bar and threw their vest on a chair and it blew up, and then they didn't submit it back because they got frustrated with the product and never used it again, they never got that data. So there's these huge holes of data that this company In&Motion has access to that the other vests don't, which means the algorithm is probably going to be the most refined, and it's going to be more dialed in for those random variables that you might encounter on the street. Now, other companies have track modes and stuff, which are probably fine. There's a little more predictable, but again, street, so many different obstacles and unpredictable things that can happen. You want to have the best algorithm. The other thing is this particular vest does not require you to unhook and deactivate it while you're walking around. In&Motion is just so confident that it's not going to go off when you trip over a curb into a restaurant that they don't tell you to deactivate. There's no magnets here. There's no anything you have to tuck away. You can literally just take your jacket off and walk around, and that's exactly what I do. This just stays lit up. I just leave it on when I'm walking around or sitting down to eat, and I've never had an issue with it going off. We have had customers where I work who crashed in this vest. It did its job. It went off. It protected them. Unfortunately, there's no way to know exactly how well products protect you if you don't break anything or have any injuries, right? He broke his leg, but he had no upper body injuries. Does that mean he would have had no upper body injuries had he not had this on? Impossible to say because we don't know how he fell. But we have had a couple customers crash in this and their upper bodies were okay. Completely anecdotal. I don't have a big enough pool of data to claim anything from that, but it does give me a little bit more confidence. Now, the other thing I like about this particular one is it focuses on the chest, the spine, and your neck. So it doesn't have shoulders built into it. And I'm finding now that that might be a good thing because as a lot more people are testing these vests and just inflating them under their jackets to see how they protect you, they're finding that a lot of the ones over the shoulders compromise a little bit on the chest to fill in the shoulders. I don't like the idea of compromising on my neck and my chest. Collarbones heal really well. I know plenty of people who have broke them. I've been lucky so far not to have, but it seems like most people have recovered just fine and they don't have any residual pain. But if you break your neck or your back or your sternum, that's a different story. Those are injuries you may never fully recover from. So I would happily compromise on the shoulders to have better neck support. The other reason I like not having the shoulder protection is because I do adventure riding. So if I end up in a more technical section and I fall and I slip out and my vest doesn't go off, well, it's not protecting my shoulders. If it does go off and it protected my shoulders, and I have to deflate it, unless I have an extra cartridge on hand, I'm going to be riding home or the rest of my ride without any shoulder protection. So I'd rather just personally for adventure riding, and again, I can see on the street, you're probably not going to crash very often. On the track, probably not going to crash very often, hopefully. Usually if you do, it's going to be a bigger crash. But adventure riding, you might take those slow speed tumbles where this doesn't go off because they design it not to go off when you don't need it. Right? If you just fall off your bike on the side of a trail because you slipped out at like 2 miles per hour, this isn't going to go off. But you still want shoulder protection because you might land on a rock. So for me, that's a big plus. And by the way, I just wanted to clarify real quick. I do still wear shoulder protection. I just wear the shoulder armor in the jacket. So either Rogue or D3O built into it. So there's still shoulder protection there, but I don't recommend you keep this armor in when you have an airbag that covers the shoulders because the armor takes up space and that can end up being a little bit tight for the airbag. So usually you have to choose. If you have an airbag that covers the shoulders, you don't usually want to keep the armor in it. This also pushes your jacket up and holds your helmet because these are pretty big compartments, so it almost acts as a neck brace under your jacket, which was the big thing for me. This vest is also light enough. It has a lot of mesh in it, in the front and the sides, where you can wear it in the summertime. Am I gonna say that this breathes and it's perfect? No, because anything that is airtight is gonna create dead spots in airflow. But this is light enough where I can tolerate it on the really hot days and not have any issue. I upgraded to the Rogue armor inside too. This is the Rally version, so it does have the chest armor, so it does breathe even better now. And also, I found out shortly after I bought this that you actually don't need to buy both Street and Adventure mode. There was a video by a big YouTuber that claimed that Adventure mode was only an add-on and then it ended up being $18 a month. That is not true. You can buy one or the other. So if you're just doing dual sport, off-road, adventure, on and off the street, you can absolutely run adventure mode all the time. The Klim rep in my region, who I spoke to directly, said that was perfectly fine, especially if you're on a dual sport where you're gonna be like popping wheelies over speed bumps, maybe going up a curb here and there and doing some hooligan stuff. You don't want the refined street algorithm that might go off under more movement. The biggest difference between the street and the adventure algorithms is that the adventure off-road just has more tolerance, so it has more room for you to move around. I've taken this down some more technical sections in Michaud State Forest, some of the much more rockier sections, as well as done a little bit of single track riding in this, and it has been fine so far. It hasn't gone off when it hasn't needed to. Street mode has tighter tolerances because you have to think about it. If you're going 80, 90 miles per hour, you need that vest to act twice as fast as whether you're going 40 to 50 miles per hour, right? Twice the speed, half the time, you need that vest to react faster. But if you're just doing back road dual sport adventure riding like myself, the Klim rep that I spoke to said you can just leave it in adventure mode all the time. It'll still do its job. It still works for the street. He didn't seem to have any concerns about using that mode all the time. So I only went with one, and then after 3 years, I can buy it outright, which I believe that 3 years is coming up. So we'll see. I should probably look into how that works actually, because I haven't figured that part out yet. But it is a lease to own, so after 3 years you can buy the software outright for $100 and own it. The subscription though, it does automatically update for you. Kind of reminds you to update, where if you buy it outright, you need to just do it manually. You need to check for updates and make sure you're on top of that. And this thing has a ton of updates because again, the active feedback loop. So many times I'll open that app and there's an update available, which means they're just constantly refining the algorithm. Also means your stuff is not getting outdated, because this is the most important piece, the computer. This is what controls whether it goes off or not in a crash. And if you can upgrade the software, you're basically upgrading the entire vest. So it doesn't go obsolete like some of our phones. The batteries start going down to like 20% capacity for some unknown reason, right? This grows with you so you don't feel like you have to buy a new vest every couple of years. And if I were to buy a vest today, yes, I would still buy this one because it matches my riding the best. If you're riding on a track or riding motocross or just doing off-road, you might want a different vest. Yes, there are better vests out there for low speed impacts. This you can't take on a motocross track. There is a track mode, but Klim doesn't have access to it. I don't know why. Maybe it's liability. I don't know. RST has it. Same thing, In&Motion, evolving algorithms. And if I were to pick a tracksuit, it probably would be RST just for that airbag, just because In&Motion. That is what I look for. The evolving algorithm that is constantly updating through an active feedback loop. Crashes are unpredictable. The more data you can pull from, the more accurate the vest is going to be in those crashes. So yeah, I would absolutely buy this all over again if I were to choose a new airbag vest today. I'm kind of bummed that they're going away with the rally version with the chest armor. That sucks, because if you're riding off-road, sometimes you get hit with a branch or something, and obviously the airbag's doesn't have like AI cameras detecting every object. It doesn't work like that. It's position and acceleration. So if you hit an object while you're moving, it's kind of nice to have the chest armor, but they are unfortunately doing away with that. So yeah, for adventure riding, I'd absolutely recommend this. I would absolutely buy it again. If you like this content, please hit the subscribe and like button. If you have any questions or concerns, as usual, please leave them in the comments. Do my best to get back to everybody. That is all I have for today. I will see you next week. Thank you for watching.